last time on Oz Hour?
Okay, last time on Oz Hour, we go and we get the fucking bitch Blinky. Blinky, Blinky, Blinky. We get her, we force her to do the things, reverse things, fix things, do all that type of stuff. Captain Bill, no longer grasshopper. What the Gloria, no longer frozen heart. She's small now and everyone boos her away. And then now Gloria is queen. And she's like, but I can't do this alone, not without my king pawn. So now they're king and queen and happy, love, we love. And then Orc's like, I want to go, but then Scarecrow's like, wait, before you go, can you like drop us off like super quick over these mountains? And they're like, yeah, sure. So Scarecrow, Butt and Bright, Trot, Captain Bill, they all go with Orc over the mountain back to Oz. Now they're in Oz. Orc goes. They find a house. They eat. They ate. They slept. They do all that. And then we are back to fucking Dorothy, Ozma, and Betsy. And they're out here sleepover vibes, watching everyone since they fucking got to Jinxland, and is like, oh, that's crazy. I know this is like real, but I'm going to pretend like I'm watching a movie and pretend that it's not real. And then we get caught up to everything, and they are like, okay, wizard, you're going to actually give him a house. And then that's where we left off.
Hi there, welcome to episode 59 of Oz Hour, the only place where you can hear everything you never knew about the wonderful and strange land of Oz.
That's right. With the help of some alcohol, we will be discussing each of the 14 books in L. Frank Baum's Wizard of Oz series.
Today we will be finishing Book 9, The Scarecrow of Oz, covering chapters 22 through 24.
We're your hosts, Blake Stone
And Wyatt Swangham.
And joining us, as always, is our resident Oz initiate. She aided, she slept. Hannah Aguirre. Dude.
Oh my god. That was me. Oh, I just spilled all over myself.
That's okay. That worked out, but Blake, you said last episode you weren't gonna do that with her intro again.
I'm so sorry. Right. It's just the way... The way that she was like, they ate, they eated, they ate, they slept. I'm just like, why are we focusing on this?
Those parts are important to me.
Anna, you just played last time on, which is where that happened. How long did that take, Wyatt?
Minute 40.
Minute 40. Honestly, I have no notes. You did pretty good. You almost forgot. Oh, don't remember what it tastes like. Do not remember what it tastes like at all.
I need to get that out of my hand because I'm fucking chugging the cocktail already.
Before we started recording, Wyatt went ahead and whipped up some cocktails. What are we drinking?
Tonight we are drinking the Waterfall, the recipe for which you can find at our Instagram at Ozara Podcast. It is it has blue curacao in it.
Yeah,
and
not
don't
our favorite
like
across
that.
the board.
It's
Well,
awfully blue.
I'm about to have a blue Christmas with this slurp.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's like an otter pop.
Chapter 22, the Waterfall. Also the cocktail.
Oh my god.
I know, right at the gate.
So no, please, by all means.
So we learn that the mountains are a fair distance from Glinda's castle. So they have a little ways to go, but there's really no rush. And Scarecrow remembers the way. So they're just walking.
Yeah, spirits are high. Everyone's full from a hearty breakfast that magically appeared on the table in the morning. And as they walk, the smell of beautifully fragrant flowers are like floating toward them on the breeze. And finally, around noon, they like stop to take a rest by a pretty river.
And Trot at this point is like, I really wish we would have like brought some food with
some
us.
of that free food.
And I was thinking about it. Trot, unlike every other character in any book, Trot hasn't had long days of walking before.
She's growing. She's 3. Like, do you know how much you have to eat?
But more importantly, Like every other character walks for 4 miles a day, but she has never even been on a land that is longer than 4 miles.
You're right, because this book they stay where they are.
They're in a cave. Oh, now they're on an island they can walk across. Now they're on top of a mountain that they never leave. Now they're in Jinx Land, which all they do is walk from the desert to the castle.
That's a really good point.
Like-
Trot doesn't know what she's
and
doing.
I guess Captain Bill has the
on
wooden
his
leg.
peg leg.
So,
Oh,
it
that
must be tough
sucks.
Not a
walking until
good-
noon.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
Oh my
Captain
God.
Bill is chafed to the gods.
I know. At least he's been a cricket for a while. For whatever.
Yeah, he's been
for
off that
grasshopper.
leg.
Yeah.
Well, I
It
mean,
was
is that
wood.
Is that better or worse?
He might have had to work harder as a
Did
cricket.
his skin
Or
heal
grasshopper.
while he was a grasshopper?
That's what I was
Like,
thinking. Is
if
like,
he,
oh no,
if
but
he
he
had,
needs the callus.
If he had a pimple on his nose and then turned into a grasshopper for a week and then became a man again, is the pimple still there at the exact same stage it was?
No, I bet it heals proportional to the healing of the grasshopper.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I
the
would.
science.
They are stopped at noon though, and Betsy is hungry.
Yeah. Right as Betsy is talking about how she wishes they took some of the food, a table loaded with
Wait,
fruit.
Betsy.
Oh, Trot. Wyatt said
Whoops.
Betsy. I said
Sorry.
Betsy.
Yeah, I was
Sorry.
sorry.
I literally
There's-
read.
Did I miss something?
No,
No, there's
I
too
read the
many
name
girls.
Trot on the page as Betsy. But a table loaded with fruits and nuts and cakes just appears on the bank of the river. And the Scarecrow is like, oh, someone's looking out for you guys.
And something about it, he's like, something about that table makes me think it's the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Is
did
it
it have
green?
like?
Yeah.
Literally, I was like,
Green
I wonder
napkins.
what's telling him that.
Like maybe it's like,
Like-
ugly, like it looks like it's from Omaha in the 1800s.
oh my god. Okay, a table from Omaha in the 1800s would probably be beautiful.
Yeah,
Omaha. Oh, to our listeners in Omaha, we're just kidding.
What the hell?
But yeah, the Scarecrow's like, I think it's the wizard looking out for you, and if that's the case, like, you've got nothing to worry about. Like, we're good. We're gonna make it to where we are. We're in the final stretch. But he also is looking around, and he realizes that he doesn't recognize any of the landmarks around him. He has no idea where he is.
And he's like, we must have taken the wrong path. Which I'm like, Scarecrow, why are you like, not why are you in charge because you're the only one who could help, but why did you lead them down this way as if you couldn't get lost?
Yeah, how did
you
this
know?
happen?
Yeah.
At what point were you going to notice that things were different? But the Scarecrow says like that they must have taken a wrong turn because on his way to Jinxland, he had passed by the foot of the river where there was a waterfall. And Captain Bill's like, okay, like, was there a bend in the river after the waterfall? Like, what are we looking for? And the Scarecrow's like, no. Like, it was the end of the river. Like, there was just a waterfall that fell into a lake, and that was the end. Maybe the river continued underground. I don't know. But, like, I'm looking for the end. So, honestly, I don't know why this is happening. They presented a problem that is pretty easy to solve. Walk one direction along the water and find
Like,
the end.
because the water
Yeah.
ends somewhere, and then they can go around. So that's what they
Literally.
do. And Trot is like, oh, like, let's just go to the end. And Scarecrow's like, exactly. And it's like, okay. The Scarecrow should have literally not even told them, and he should have said, hey, now we walk to the end of this until we get
let's
to
just
the
stay
waterfall.
along the water. We're
Yeah,
looking for
why
a
we're
like,
making a
it's
big deal.
not that hard.
And literally, that's exactly what happens. They
Yeah.
walk,
And it takes a long
eventually
time,
they
but-
find the waterfall.
Yeah. And they can hear it roaring before they get up there. Like, they're like, oh, we're going the right direction. So, like, they know. And they get up to it, and it's pretty big. It's like, super big.
Incredibly tall. Because it's kind of weird. The way I'm picturing it, I must be picturing it wrong. Like,
Me
did they have
too.
to climb to the top of the waterfall?
No, they're already at the cliffside next to it.
Okay. And then it just drops down into a lake below.
Yeah.
But I thought they were walking along a river.
They are.
So where's... Oh, they're walking to... Okay. See, I was thinking they were walking toward, like, the waterfall is falling facing them, and then they go
Oh.
around the end of the river. But you're saying they're walking toward the
Yeah.
drop.
They're walking along the
But
river.
then how do they get around that?
Well,
oh,
then
they just go
it-
around
Yeah, it
the
goes
other
into a
side.
lake. So if
I
it just
see.
went into a river and kept going,
I see.
they couldn't do
I see.
anything. Yeah.
So weird.
yeah.
So weird.
But
I'm picturing it though.
okay, good. Yeah. And I imagine it being beautiful. Like this huge ass waterfall, like mists coming up. Everything's emerald. It's Oz, like it's going to be
Yeah.
glamorous. And so they get to the edge and they look over and way down there's a lake at the bottom, like a small lake, a tiny
And
lake.
it's like
More like a
far
pond.
away. Like this waterfall is very tall.
Yeah.
And literally, go for it. Wait.
Well, Scarecrow tells them that it's known as the Great Waterfall because it's the biggest waterfall in all of the land. And help! Because he loses his balance and he plunges.
Scarecrow?
Yeah.
He goes head first into
Right
the
over.
fucking water.
I'm picturing something so like ridiculous.
It is.
It is, yeah. I mean, because basically he falls in. There is all they see, because it's so quick, but all they see is him fall. There's a flash of like blue clothes as he falls in. He pops up, and for a second they see his face, and then he gets ripped over the side and he's gone.
I don't know if you have any idea how heavy a waterfall is, but the Scarecrow is made of paper. So he goes
Oh my
like he's
god.
gone, and he fell to the bottom of the waterfall. They can't see him. Like Trot is like, oh my god, he's gonna drown. We have to save
Well,
him.
he doesn't have lungs.
Yeah, well, and that's what Button Bright. Well, okay, so the other thing to understand is there's the waterfall that obviously like goes straight down, but it's like kind of a hill that you can walk down, like a trail, like if you're gonna
Yeah.
walk, you know what it would be like. So there's a trail or whatever. So they start running down that, and Betsy yells that he's drowning. Button Bright says he can't drown, he's a scarecrow. But Betsy's like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
she's
know.
like, I
Oh my
actually
God.
don't know that.
It's
I've
like
nev-
I actually just saw him
I keep
get
saying
eaten
Betsy.
up by.
Oh my god,
I'm
it's
sorry, it's
Trot.
Trot.
Listeners, it's Trot.
Oh my
Trot, trot,
god.
We should like edit in
Yeah.
like
Trot.
Trot.
Done.
And then later it's like, oh my god, I keep saying Trot. Anyway, so yeah, they're running down to the lake below, and Button Bright is like, he can't drown Trot, he's a scarecrow. Trot is like, I have never seen a talking scarecrow before. What do I know about if they're able to drown?
Yeah.
They
They don't
keep
have
going
organs.
down, and they get down there. Trot is scanning the water. She cannot find him anywhere. Captain Bill is like, well, he's probably deep down in the water.
He
And he's
disintegrated.
and he's getting soggier and soggier, and he's getting heavier and heavier. So he's not gonna float
He's
up.
just
Like we're not gonna
sinking.
see him. He's literally like fucking King Fierce.
The way that in the first book, the scarecrow literally floated away down a river and didn't sink to the bottom.
Yeah. So what
Just
happened?
saying, but
He's been in the water a lot, actually. He was saved by
Yeah.
a stork in the first book. He was floating back and forth in the
Yeah.
last book. But yeah, they're kind of freaking out. Trot cannot find him. Suddenly, Button Bright is like, Trot, over here. And like she goes over to him. He's standing by the edge of the actual waterfall. And behind the waterfall, there's a cave. And Button Bright's like, hey, maybe he's in here. Like, let's go check out this cave. And Trot is like, there's no way in hell the Scarecrow's in that cave. But also, Trot and Captain Bill can't say no to a cave. I mean,
I literally, when I was reading,
You're
I was
like,
like,
we're
oh,
bringing it back to
we're-
the beginning.
Yeah. Back to the
I thought this
cave.
was
I
gonna
love
take
it.
them home. Like I'm
Oh my
like
gosh.
spoiler alert, it doesn't. But I genuinely thought like we were about to have like a Chronicles of Narnia where they like find their way back to the wardrobe 30 years later. I was
Oh
like,
my
they're gonna go in this
God.
cavern and they're just gonna end up back in California. But no. They go in this cavern, which they have to skirt the waterfall.
It's
to,
kinda
like, get
dangerous.
into. It's incredibly dangerous.
Yeah.
And
It's
but
slippery. And there's rocks.
once they go into the cave, like there's room enough to stand, and there's a staircase at the end of the room.
Yeah.
Like a staircase, which means
Spooky.
people.
Yeah, and it goes down into the dark, wet cavern.
No.
And it's super loud right here, so they can't really hear anything.
Why is another book starting?
I know, right?
Like, I thought we were done.
But yeah, like Wyatt said, like they're behind a waterfall. All they can hear is like if they tried to talk to each other, they would not be able to hear each other.
Yeah.
So Trot just kind of like looks at Captain Bill like, "Are we?" And Captain Bill's like, "Let's go." Before they can even decide to go, Button Bright's like, Trot
Yeah. He's
down the
just
stairs.
scrambling down these stairs.
Oh my gosh.
And the stairs are kind of wet at first. Like the first few are like slippery and kind of dangerous, very like the stairs down to the dark well in the Patchwork Girl of Oz. But they end up being pretty dry after the first couple, and they just walk down. And then once they get down to the bottom of the stairs, there's just a corridor, and there's a rosy light everywhere in the cavern, coming from nowhere in particular. It's just beautiful and pink and rosy. And they're like, that's strange, but let's keep going for some reason. This isn't scary at all. They walk down the hallway and into this huge cave, and they are amazed by what they see.
Every inch of the floor, wall, and ceiling is covered in perfectly cut rubies. It is stunning. The light, like reflecting off, I don't know.
I guess the waterfall.
The
I don't know how it gets
water
in there.
is like making it glow with this reddish pink.
Yeah, all the rubies
And
are lit up like fire.
In the center of the room is like a hole in the rock where, like, you know, like when you go to like Devil's Punch Bowl or something and you see like the ocean shoot up through like this hole in the rock.
yeah.
That's what's in the center of the room. They call it a cauldron, but it's like a place where the river is going up into the center of the room.
Yeah.
And every time it does, it looks pink and is glowing because
like
of the
a-
rubies all around it.
Pink red ectoplasm blood clot undulating in the middle of the cavern.
Yeah,
It looks
unfortunately,
insane.
that's what it's like.
Yeah, it looks
Is
like
it-
plasma.
Is it the Gnome King?
Oh my
No,
god, I had a similar thought. I was like,
did.
they found like the
Li-
secret treasure forest.
Literally earlier when I was reading this, I was like, oh my god, they're gonna meet the Gnome King and he's gonna be like, I'm just a nice old man now.
Yeah.
I just
But-
live in my cave with my rubies.
No, just the water that comes down from the waterfall is so forceful, it like goes into that pool and then shoots up inside that cavern for some reason. It's not really clear why it does that.
They are standing here watching the river just like keep like going like shooting up through this hole, falling back down through the hole. And suddenly they see the Scarecrow shoot up through the cauldron, kicking and flailing like, whoa! Back down through the hole.
And that is the end of chapter 22, the waterfall. And Blake, what would you follow that?
Splish splash, Scarecrow's taking a bath.
Nice.
Oh,
Nice. Chapter 23, the Land of Oz. So
why do we keep doing that?
go ahead.
So as the Scarecrow is like clinging there for his life, Captain Bill sticks out his wooden leg and the Scarecrow like scrambles and grabs onto it.
And the kids have to grab onto his clothes at this point because he's going to be swept away. And they're trying to hold on to him, but he is super heavy. He's like 80 pounds.
He's
No,
drenched.
120 pounds.
He's
Huge.
I'm like,
For
okay,
two
wait,
kids.
how did a t-shirt get that heavy actually?
He is. That's the numbers it said.
But the kids can't get him out by themselves. So like Captain Bill has to like get down and help them. And they pull him out and they lay him on the ground. The Scarecrow is sopping, dripping wet.
He's messed up.
He's wrinkled. He's lumpy. Things are in the wrong place. He's so saturated with water that like his face is like wrinkled and crunched in. But he can still talk. And he sounds
Somehow.
kind of far away when
Would
he does
you
talk.
say this is giving
Oh.
Scarecrow body horror?
Dun,
Yeah.
dun, dun. I actually have a Scarecrow body horror alert in my notes, and unfortunately, we're not even there yet. Is
What?
The thing, because it gets
Oh,
worse
yeah.
for
It's
him.
worse.
It gets strange.
But Trot like leans her head down by like the Scarecrow's face, and she hears him say, "Get me out of here as soon as you can." So Trot and Button Bright take his legs. Captain Bill like grabs his shoulders, and they like carry him out. It's like
And it's not easy.
it's not easy. He's like the heaviest he's ever been.
It's also a
He's
ruby
like actually the
floor.
size of a man.
Yeah, the floor.
Yeah, he's actually a man.
The
This is the
floor
closest
is
he's ever
the
been.
floor is slippery. And then the entrance behind the waterfall, incredibly dangerous when they went in not carrying a guy. Now they're carrying a guy past
They're like
it.
slipping, like that thing where like your foot only moves like 2 inches on the rock, but you think you're going down.
You can
Except
tear
it's
an
like
ACL with
They're
that.
they're
Oh,
using
yeah.
they're using muscles they had no idea they even
they're
had.
gonna be
in their
so
No.
sore tomorrow. But thankfully they do get out and they get out of the waterfall and they go over to the side where they're like well away from the water and they basically just lay the Scarecrow out to dry.
And I am so sorry, listener, to give you two duns in
Yeah.
one moment. But again, we have to reiterate, this is Scarecrow body horror. He's disgusting. Captain Bill examines the Scarecrow's straw, and he sees that it is full of pollywogs and fish eggs.
No.
Frog
has-
spawn, seaweed, little pieces of dead
It
fish.
Oh my
is
God.
so-
Full.
How did that happen so quickly?
Well, he was in the
Because
sloshing
he was like
going
dragged through. He was just scraping the bottom.
Ew,
of the
yeah. There's all those little periwinkles and snails in him too.
So Captain Bill is like,
makes me sick.
okay, this straw is disgusting. Like it's full of creatures. We have to take this out of him. Also, it's never going to be dry enough to be like crisp and crinkly anyway. We just have to like take this out of him.
Yeah.
And Trot's like, okay, like cool, like
Is he gonna
let's
be
do that.
naked?
but they're going to unstuff his body and leave his head intact, but they're going to unstuff everything and ditch the straw there so that those fish and pollywogs can survive and put them back in the water. And then they're going to carry the Scarecrow until they can find new straw
Oh wait.
as a pile of laundry.
It's literally just his clothes. They're taking his clothes, his boots, and his hat, and then the Scarecrow is
So
like,
does that confirm? My throat is dry because I'm freaking out. But does that confirm that his clothes are just his? Have we talked about this?
He still has
before?
his head.
Oh, he still has his
They're
head.
not
yeah, they're not
unstuffing the
unstuffing the
head.
head.
So his head is his soul, most
His
likely.
head
His head's
seems
his
like the
soul.
soul.
His head
Because
is
the
his
clothes
soul.
aren't moving on
His
their
head is
own.
the soul.
It's just the head. Yeah,
His
the
head
head
is all
the soul.
Charlie, say it.
The head is the soul.
Charlie, say it. Oh my god. This is why he needs headphones.
But Trot took an extra care to de-wrinkle the Scarecrow's head, make his head like all normal looking,
Because
and
they
not
have
fucking
time to kill.
wrinkled in.
They're
'Cause
letting
they're waiting.
the clothes dry in the sun.
Yeah. So they're just like, they have time to kill. And while that's happening, they get him all sorted out. Scarecrow is feeling a lot better. Just generally, he can talk more normal now. He looks pretty much all right. And then it takes some time, but eventually everything's dry and they can leave. So Button Bright carries the boots and the hat. Trot carries the dried clothes. And then Captain Bill, in order that the Scarecrow can actually tell them where to go, just holds the Scarecrow's head on his shoulder with the eyes facing forward.
Ugh.
Which is also Scarecrow body horror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 3-in-1, girls.
Mm-hmm.
The Scarecrow is weirdly in like a pretty good mood now that he's dry, and he's like just entertaining them all with stories about the land of Oz while Captain Bill like carries his head down a road. Unfortunately, their plan to like find straw for him does not come to fruition. Night falls again, and they bump into that same house that the wizard made for them. It's just now in a new place.
Yeah.
So they're like, fuck, like, obviously we need to rest. Thank God we have this house. But it's like, this entire day sucked.
Yeah. They were supposed to get to Glinda's house today. And instead, the Scarecrow lost his entire body.
Why can't L. Frank Baum just end a book?
Literally, the story
It makes
is
you wonder why that
over.
waterfall happened.
The story is done.
We don't need to hear this.
He was like,
Anything that happens after the main story is none of our business. We shouldn't
Yeah.
be here.
This is private. This is a private adventure
private
now.
information. Like, I know the Scarecrow's social security number by now.
Yeah. This never should have been publicized.
Like, he's an actor.
No.
oh
This
my
is really
God.
giving And after a small adventure, they got to the Emerald City. That's all we needed to hear.
Yes,
That's it.
exactly. And I will say, like, the end, we just fucking rushed through. So I don't understand why this waterfall is happening. But so they pass the night, there's a piping hot meal waiting for them in the house. They eat food, they sleep in their same beds. They wake up the next morning, they have breakfast. When they go outside, there is a pile of fresh straw waiting for them right out on the doorstep.
Because the wizard sent it. Because, he has the ability to make things manifest anywhere in the country. So instead of taking them to the Emerald City, he sends straw to them.
Because just so we're clear,
and a house.
just so we're
And they're
clear,
gonna be like, "Oh, thank you, thank you."
that's the thing.
Oh my god, yeah.
He is using
God.
he is using more difficult magic to feed and house them than he probably is to just move.
Yeah,
them.
he's like using so much energy
I
doing
know.
all
And
this.
Dorothy and Betsy are traveling 2 days to go to Glinda.
Oh, that's crazy too.
And
yeah.
these people are walking 2 days to go to Glinda just so that they can all convene at Glinda's and say, okay, let's go see Ozma. Why is it happening? Why is your
I don't want
house
it to
high?
happen.
I
I don't want it
don't.
to happen.
So in the morning they stuff the Scarecrow. He's good to go. He's like all his straw is rustling beautifully in his body, and he thanks everybody for stuffing him.
Yeah.
And
Trot is like, you look better than you did when we met.
oh
you."
yeah, yeah, and he is like, yeah, well, a little bit of water can spoil even the best straw. And Button Bright takes this opportunity to remind all the little boys out there that it just proves that too much water or too much bathing is just as bad as not enough. And everyone said, yeah, I don't want to take a bath.
Scarecrow's like, everything in moderation. Wink, wink.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this isn't.
what? No
Wait.
fire,
Stop.
though.
Do not,
Who-
please don't break the fourth wall ever again.
Yeah, and who are we talking to?
Yeah.
Like,
Button
what?
Bright. I can't tell if Button Bright likes taking baths or doesn't like taking baths.
Yeah, I feel confused about the message you're trying to send out.
But they have to pick up the pace because we've wasted a lot of time here. And they literally are like, if we don't leave now, we are not going to get to Glinda's palace before nightfall. Like, let's go. We should have been there yesterday.
No.
And I'm like, yeah, go.
Yeah.
Why am I reading this right now?
And that, unbelievably, is the end of chapter 23, which for some reason was called The Land of Oz.
Whoa.
And
I
Blake,
forgot.
what would you call that?
I would call that stuff happens.
Chapter 24, The Royal Reception. At 4 p.m. that night, the Red Wagon arrives at Glinda's palace.
Whoa.
The Red Wagon.
The Red Wagon.
The Red Wagon.
The Red Wagon.
Ride is at dawn.
Red Wagon.
The Red Wagon is Ozma's. It's Ozma's wagon. It's pulled by the Sawhorse. Dorothy and Betsy are on it.
Sawhorse.
The
Eh.
Sawhorse decides he's going to stay outside for some alone time. Dorothy and Betsy head in to see Glinda.
He says, well, the Scarecrow, or excuse me, the Sawhorse says that he just wants to spend some time thinking. And Betsy's like, what are you going to think about? And he's like, I'm just going to think about the acorn that grew into the tree that I was made from. And Sawhorse is just always getting
He
philosophical.
just like doesn't. Yeah, he's like, kill me.
Yeah.
Or don't.
It's giving
but
more kill me, though.
The girls go in. They greet Glinda. Glinda does that thing she does where she's like, I knew you were coming.
Yeah,
I
I've been
saw
reading
it
my
in my
book."
book. And it's like, girl, if you know so much and you're the most powerful sorceress in the entire land, do more.
Why do I need to keep coming here?
Why did
Yeah.
you give the Scarecrow a pill that makes a spider's butt strong? Send him there with your power.
Is there like some like little like thing that you can't like what is
She's
it?
like, oh, if it's in Oz but across a mountain, I can't do anything about
yeah,
it.
Well,
and
that-
there's like weird rules.
Meanwhile, the fucking Glinda, or maybe the wizard, I think it was Glinda in the last book, rearranged the road out of fucking
Oh, yeah,
Queen
that was
Anne's
not Oz.
territory.
Oh, it
Right.
was Oz. Oogaboo, yeah.
Oogaboo. She
And sent
rearranged
them
the
to
road
the
to send them
desert.
out, which is actually, you know what? Hey, you know what? We're going down the wrong road here.
Yeah.
No, we're going down the right road. He went down the wrong road, and I'll
True.
never forgive him. I spit on your grave, L. Frank Baum. I love Elfie Baum so much. She gave me a job. So Glinda talks about how her book of records told her that Betsy and Dorothy were going to come and meet Trot and Button Bright. And Dorothy's like, oh, is that the little girl's name?
Because
Trot?
as a reminder, there's no sound on the magic TV picture.
Yeah, there's no sound.
Because
Oh.
they had to call Shaggy Man on a tiny cell phone last
That's
time.
right.
Because
They
there
didn't know
was
what they were
no way to
talking
hear
about.
it otherwise.
Also-
he invented cell phones.
I don't know if like Dorothy and Ozma are like going through a hard time, or like if Dorothy like fully regrets moving to Oz and becoming a princess. But in the last book, she was like, "Who's that girl? Bring her here. I would like her to be my best friend." And Ozma's
Well-
like, I'm your best friend. She's like, no, I know, but nobody can have too many best friends. And now in the next book, she's like,
She's
who's that
creating
girl?
an army.
Who's that girl? Bring that girl here. I
She's
want that
creating
girl.
an army.
Like, why does Dorothy need so many little girls to be captive in Oz?
She's gonna take over Oz.
I mean, I get that Ozma is like actually busy and a politician, but also like it's not Dorothy's fault that little girls keep just wandering into Oz after
I know,
her.
but why is Dorothy's first thought like, I want to be their best friend. Let's go see them. I want to be their friend. I want to play with them. I want to play games like hopscotch and jumping rope.
Why is that her accent?
Oh, sorry. I want to play games. Hopscotch, jump rope. So Dorothy's like, oh, the girl's name is Trot? And Glinda's like, yeah, and her sailor friend is named Captain Bill. And Glinda says, hold on to your fucking ass. Because I didn't like this. I text Wyatt about it because I was like, what is this? What's
oh
happening?
no.
Glinda's like, yeah, that's Trot and Captain Bill. And she's like, and you know what? I think they're really going to like it here. And I think we're really going to like them. They seem like the kind of people to really appreciate the wonder of Oz. And since I don't see any way of getting them home soon, they're just going to have to live here.
Which is crazy because last time Betsy almost didn't even get admitted to Oz.
It was
Like-
so much work to get Betsy in that it added 3 chapters to the book.
And Ozma says not everyone can live in Oz. It's just true. Not everyone can live in, which is true.
They don't know anything about Trot and Captain Bill, except if that magic picture had some sound, they would know that they want to go the fuck home. What do you mean? Oh, well, we don't know how to get them out of here, so I guess they're just going to live here.
Yeah, I
now.
also don't
Live
understand
here
that
now.
part.
You haven't even met them. You don't know what they want.
You don't know their wants. You
And
don't know their needs.
Also, what the fuck? Why can't you get them out of there? First of all,
Yeah, why can't
Glinda, you're on my shit list. You're gonna get fired because you were supposed to create a spell that made it so that nobody could get into Oz ever. 7 different creatures that weren't supposed to go into Oz went in. 3 fucking eagles, an orc, and 4
You know what,
people.
though? No,
they were
because
not
you know
supposed to be
what?
there, and they got in. And now she can't get them out.
The thing is, they actually made a spell so that no one could see it, or if they saw it, they would go away. But the orc and those birds are from fairylands. They're all from lands that are on the borders of Oz. So the birds and the orc.
I didn't think that was the rules though, because I would think that the people of Ev don't just have in and out privileges.
Oh, that's true.
Mm.
The Gnome King had a dig.
Well, that was even before that.
That was before that, but still.
It was just in the desert. Yeah. Well, it still doesn't make sense. I will admit to that. And I don't think that it ever will.
I'm just so I'm like, okay, they weren't supposed to get in, they got in. Now you can't get them out. I thought Glinda was the most powerful sorceress in the world. And also,
Actually-
why are you deciding that they just live in Oz now? That's crazy.
Accepting
Yeah.
their fate.
Trot has a mother.
Well, it's interesting too because there was the donkey in the in the Patchwork of Oz where she was like, or maybe it was the owl, but it was like they weren't from Oz, but after the border got sealed, they couldn't get out, so they
Oh,
were like,
yeah.
it was
that's
one. I can't remember which of
right.
those two
The-
it was,
The
but they owned
wise
that
ass and
advice
the
shop.
Dumb owl or something.
Yeah. And so like
Oh my god.
it's kind of like that, I guess. But again, the rules of them getting in, it's ambiguous. But we're not even bearing the lead. It's just like it doesn't
It just
matter because what Glinda says is, yeah, like they probably can't leave here. And Dorothy says, oh yeah, well, you know what? Like there's plenty of room here. Everyone has a better life here unless you have a family on the outside, which it doesn't really seem like they do. And then
God, Dorothy came to Oz like 4 times before she was invited to stay.
I know. But then she wants everyone to be invited to stay because she's like, yeah, this just makes sense. Like,
Different
it worked
rules.
really good for me.
But yeah, she's like, well, like Betsy and I will have so much fun showing Trot all of the different things to do in Oz. And Glinda's like, I have lived here for so many years and I have not seen all of Oz. So yeah, you're gonna have a full life, little girls, of playing around in Oz. Meanwhile, Trot, Captain Bill, Button Bright, and the Scarecrow, they're approaching the palace. They can't believe how magnificent it is. They've only seen King Cruel's castle,
Which is pretty cool.
and this is beyond.
But this is crazy. It's like they're far away and they're like, this is so beautiful. This is beautiful than anything we've ever seen. And the closer they get, the more beautiful it gets.
Yeah.
And even Button Bright, who's seen the Emerald City, is like amazed. And as they're getting up to the marble steps, Trot is like, because they're like here now. And Trot is like, there's no soldiers. And the Scarecrow's like, well, there's no need because number one, there's no wicked people in Oz that we know about. Which I'm like, well, yeah, that you know about. But that's been a problem before, but whatever. But also he's like, but Glinda's magic would protect her. And I'm like, okay, I remember when Glinda had an entire army, but that was when there was 2 wicked witches. So maybe she's disbanded the army
Right.
now. It makes sense.
Yeah, she like has like, because isn't the Quadling like all women?
It was like an all-women army.
Yeah, so they probably still like exist. They just don't like guard her house.
Well, now they're in her library and like doing
Yeah,
the
they're
crafts
just
and
like-
stuff. Yeah.
But yeah, so they get to the top of the stairs to the entrance, and Button Bright sees the sawhorse hitched to the wagon outside, and he's like, "It's the sawhorse!" And he runs down, he throws his arms around the sawhorse's neck, and Dorothy, Betsy, and Glinda heard this from inside because he like squealed. And so they come out, and they're like, "Oh, they're here." So they come out, and like Dorothy like gives the Scarecrow a big hug, greets him, like meets Trot and Captain Bill, and she's like, "We have been watching you for such a long time in Ozma's Magic Picture. Like, Ozma wants to invite you to her royal palace, and just so you know, that's a really big fucking
It's a
deal."
great honor. It's a great honor.
She's gaslighting them into wanting to stay there forever.
Yeah. But then Glinda shows up and she's like, hey, come on in. Like, come to the reception room. And Trot is pretty intimidated by all this because, again, all she's had is like these weird situations in the pretty nice palace, but not crazy palace of like King Cruel. But this is like opulence to the like furthest degree. And she's holding hands with Dorothy and Betsy, like taking their strength and being a little witch herself and just like trying to make it work. But she's feeling good. Captain Bill, on the other hand, is not very comfortable. He's like in like it's so luxurious and he just doesn't know how to act. So he's just like, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, thank you, ma'am. Like all he is saying is like yes and no, ma'am.
Yeah,
he's like doesn't know what
He's
to do.
embarrassed by how fancy it is.
Yeah. And he's just like an old sailor man who was a cricket for 3 days.
But the Scarecrow fills like Betsy and Dorothy and Glinda in on what's been going on with their journey, even though every single person already knows everything. Glinda
Yeah.
has read it all. Betsy and Dorothy watch it all in the Magic Picture. And then the Scarecrow like asks Dorothy and Betsy what's been happening in the Emerald City since he left. Fast forward, we don't get any of that information.
That's what I was gonna say. Is when the book is like, oh, he asked them that. I'm like, oh, what's happening? Are we gonna learn something crazy? And that's what we're waiting for? No. Next morning, they wake up and Captain Bill's happy now because he's gotten comfortable with everybody. They eat breakfast and they say goodbye.
Yeah.
And then they go to the Emerald City.
Yeah, they climb into the red wagon and they want the sawhorse to walk. What do you say when you want the sawhorse to walk, Hannah?
Walk.
No.
They could probably say that now, but that's not what they usually would say.
They would say, get up.
Get up.
Get that. I don't remember that.
Oh my God. Well, go back
It's the
and
first
listen.
words the
You've-
Scarecrow said.
We've asked you to
Oh my
answer this question about 4 times on this show, and you've never.
We should really just stop.
No.
Get up.
Get up. Giddy up. Giddy up. What you say to a horse when you want it to go. So as they go along to the Emerald City, they see the beautiful landscape. They pass a lot of friendly people who are like super excited to see Dorothy and the Scarecrow. And everyone in their journey is like in very high spirits as they're approaching the Emerald City. And Trot is starting to really hope that Ozma will let her and Captain Bill stay in Oz forever.
Yeah. She's like, this is actually pretty nice.
It's a cult.
And it is. And the closer and closer they get to the Emerald City, the better and better it gets. Like, there's more people, more buildings, more everything.
Mm-hmm. The
It's
Emerald
getting
City
amazing.
blows them away. It's
And just the
gorgeous.
people alone. It's like
Then-
their costumes, everything.
Then they get to the Emerald Palace. Gorgeous. Then Ozma invites them inside. And usually people come and they go meet Ozma in the throne room. Ozma invites them to her personal apartment. The only peoples we have ever seen in her apartment is Dorothy and I guess Betsy in this book. But it's like only the girls hang out around the magic picture. Oh, maybe the wizard has watched the magic
She's like,
picture.
I'm a
Yeah.
fan of you guys.
Yeah, she's like,
I've been
literally,
watching your show.
she's like,
for,
I'm
like, a
so
long
sorry.
time."
I'm still changing out of my sweats because I was watching you walk up to the door. But like, please come into my apartment. So
I
like,
mean,
she,
they did save the Scarecrow. Or they were part of it, at least. I guess they didn't really do it
still
directly.
throne room. Her bedroom.
I still
come into
agree.
my bedroom is crazy. But it doesn't matter because she makes them all feel so welcome and they're so comfy. And they're just like, wow, this place fucking rocks. Ozma fucking rocks. Trot and Captain Bill are given beautiful, comfortable rooms that overlook
They're
the
being
gardens.
love bombed right now.
They're being love bombed. It's a cult. I'm scared.
Yeah.
But that night, there's a huge banquet in their honor, which I never thought about this before, but like, what does the average like dinner look like in the royal palace? Because I feel like every time we're there, it's an enormous dinner where all of our friends are there. But like,
Well, they always get the food that they want too.
yeah,
Like,
I'm like,
Polychrome would always get her dewdrops or
Does-
dew cakes, whatever.
does Dorothy ever just say like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna actually have dinner at like 4 today, and then I am gonna go to my room and just like binge watch TV and go to sleep? Like, does Dorothy just say like, oh yeah, I want like a pulled pork sandwich at 2 p.m. I'm eating by myself, like over the sink.
I don't
Like,
think that's the case.
I
It's
feel
just it's a formal dinner situation because their lives are so. I mean, life is so different
just what
back
they
then
do.
anyway. Like,
I
there's not
know.
actual media, so
but
like
then
that's
it
part of your
always
life.
draws attention to the fact that it's such an enormous banquet. So if that's every single day for them, I don't know what the big deal
I see.
is.
Well, I think the extent of the food is different. You know, like they probably do have just like soup for dinner, but I think it is like a formal dinner every
Yeah.
night.
So
Mhm.
it's like this amazing banquet that they all have, and they meet all of the people. They really get a taste of Oz.
Captain Bill thought the Scarecrow was like the far extremity of craziness. He thought, oh, it's a talking, walking Scarecrow. That's the height. That's the peak. And then there's the Tin Woodman with his gleaming axe, and he's like, oh my god. And then there's Jack Pumpkinhead with his living pumpkin head.
God, we got everyone.
There's Professor Wogglebug, the giant bug with the clothes. There's TikTok the Machine Man. There's the Shaggy Man and his brother, which they're just normal.
He meets the Shaggy Man, Ugly, and Aunt Em and Uncle Henry, and he's like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, he's like, that's his palate cleanser. Because then it's all the strange animals who he meets.
Yes, something bad.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
I feel like in Oz, as far as I know, there's only capital A animals. There's no lowercase a animals.
except for
they
the
all talk.
Kalidas.
Yeah.
But
Oh, Kalidas
they
are
could have talked,
lowercase
maybe we
a.
just didn't know.
Kalidas
I mean,
are an abomination.
The lion, I mean, the lion has to do this, but the lion does kill a deer in the first book to eat it.
That's true. But Captain Bill is astonished, though, and Trot, too, because they meet the cowardly lion, the hungry tiger, Eureka, the pink kitten, the sawhorse, who they've already seen, the 9 tiny piglets,
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Hank
I
the
miss
mule.
them.
Like, all of these animals come, and they're like, hello, hi, how are you, hello.
God, there's so many.
Belina, not
characters.
mentioned, kind of makes me sad.
Oh, that is interesting.
Ah,
Curled up at Dorothy's feet is a little terrier named Toto. He doesn't talk much,
okay.
but he listens intently to every word.
And I'm like,
But it
so that
says-
means he did talk.
It says
a
he
couple
doesn't
times.
talk much.
Yeah.
So he probably
he's
said, "How
still
do
a
you do?"
talker.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah, Dorothy is probably like, I'll pinch you.
And and then even though Belina's not mentioned, we get the Woozy. which
Oh.
Trot is like especially interested in because he's so strange.
She's like, that's the craziest thing I've ever seen.
But
in my
like
life."
but she also likes it. He just like he looks so happy and he just kind of looks around and like sits in the corner and like is like greeting everybody. So she's like, oh, he's a nice little guy. But otherwise he's pretty, whatever. So they're amazed. But the whole night, Captain Bill and Trot are like, where's the wizard? Like, we've been waiting for him. Like, we kind of want to see this guy because he like saved us, sort of. Well, he didn't save him, but they want to know. He's the wizard.
And
straw
Trot's-
in a house.
And Trot's
Yeah,
read
Trot's-
the books, so
Oh,
she
yeah.
knows who
Oh,
the wizard
yeah.
is.
And so
yeah.
Trot knew who most of these people were also.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
Ugh.
But
Um,
eventually, later in the night, the wizard appears.
He's like, I know you, you don't know me, let's get acquainted.
Mm-hmm.
And they do. They talk all night with the wizard and with everyone, and they have like the greatest night of their life. And by the end of the night, Trot's like, oh my God, like, I know everyone here. These are all my best friends in the whole wide world. I'm going to walk away from my life, and I'm going to stay here.
But then Trot looks around and realizes Button Bright is nowhere to be found.
That goddamn button bright.
And Trot cries out. She's like, oh, dear, he's lost again. But Ozma is there, and she's like, don't worry about Button Bright. Like, he can't get very far away. We're in the land of Oz, so it's safe. But also, if he's not getting lost, he's just not going to be happy.
Yeah, that's Button Bright. That's what he likes to
That's
do.
his
Yeah.
life.
Unbelievably,
That's the end.
that is the end of that chapter, and also the end of the book. You might think that's a strange ending.
It's a bit abrupt.
It's a bit wild.
It's he got bored.
The last few chapters,
I wish
I
they
feel
didn't
like
happen.
They're like
Yeah.
always 24 chapters. So I honestly feel like he was
just
like,
has to
just
keep
get
it
to 24.
to 24.
I know. The chapter called The Land of Oz, that was just them taking the Scarecrow outside and then drying him out. They didn't do they did it on the Land of Oz, but
It was just them doing laundry.
yeah. I mean, I liked this book a lot, but like that felt like it wasn't needed to me.
Yeah.
That's just
It
the facts.
literally should have cut straight from them celebrating Gloria and Pawn's victory straight to the Emerald City.
Yeah, if the orc had not had his Uncle Surprise party, which was Elfringbaum's choice, that didn't actually happen in real life. Elfringbaum made that happen. So he could have said, oh yeah, we'll fly you straight to the Emerald City. And then we could have had a montage of everything in the Emerald City. Or it could have been one chapter and just ended there.
And I
Easy.
wouldn't have minded the orc getting like a royal congratulations from
Oh my god,
Ozma.
yeah. And
He did everything.
if Ozma like started making inroads with the orc community, that would be crazy.
Also, like,
so needed.
what is Pawn and Gloria's relationship to the greater Oz now moving forward?
I know. Can they start a correspondence? Like, just, I
We
don't
didn't
know.
even get to say bye to them.
I know, yeah, but they're happy and they're kind and good, except, I mean, Pawn does come from a legacy of murdering kings. So, I don't know, or destroying kings. But that is the end of chapter 24, the royal reception. And Blake, what would you receive that?
You know, you're not gonna think well of me for it, but I'm calling that trapped in Oz because something's yucky to me. I don't like it. I don't feel
Yeah.
comfortable. I feel like let that little girl go home to her mother.
Yeah,
She
wear the
trusted-
ruby slippers.
She trusted Captain Bill to take that girl out on a boat ride, and they haven't been back in a week.
I think that
little
there's
girl's mother is worried about her.
I think there's something we missed in the Sky Palace or whatever the fuck, the book that Trot and Captain Bill are from. I think there's a reason that she doesn't want to go home. Because it said how like her mom runs a boarding house and like she had her and then doesn't pay attention to her, and then Captain Bill's her only friend and educated her. So
Thank
I
you
think it's
for
a bad home
listening
life.
to Oz Hour. Join us next week as we begin The Sky Palace by L. Frank Baum.
I know. Thank you for listening to Oz Hour. Please join us next time as we begin Book 10, Rinkitink of Oz. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, and follow us on our Instagram and TikTok at Oz Hour Podcast for the latest on everything Oz. Oz Hour. Created and hosted by Blake Stone and Wyatt Swangham. Co-hosted by Hannah and Gary. Audio production by Charlie Johnson. Theme music written and performed by Rudy Klobus. Cover art by Valentin Lucas.